Hi everyone, Dr. Drake 63 here. You know, earlier this week I purchased a Yugoslavian Zastava N-PAP DF, which stands for down folder or under folder. It's this firearm right here. I'm not here to show you this firearm or talk about it today. You can look at that video separately. What I do want to talk about today is how do you sift through internet and YouTube, however you want to classify it, forums, whatever. How do you go through things to determine this is the rifle or the firearm for me, or no, I better stay away from it? This one here is a little bit controversial. Certainly there have been some quality issues. The question has been, is it the importer who's doing things to them, putting the wrong trigger in? Is it a combination of things? Apparently there's been some metallurgy concerns in the past, so forth. How do you deal with that? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today. A little bit of a lighthearted approach. I think what we all have in common is whatever kind of firearm we buy, it's important to all of us that when we want or need it to, when we go pulling the trigger, it's going to go bang. And that's the biggest concern that any of us face. And that's why we have a lot of the different ways of evaluating this, anywhere from hands-on experience, from people that build to people that run these things really hard and put them to bed wet, to quote that saying. So I just want to kind of look at this, again, a little bit of a humorous approach. Hope you enjoy it. Go ahead and type the name of your favorite rifle in this particular area and hit send. You'll be interested in what you get to see. But there were some real concerns when this came out last year from the guys at AK Operators Union, who are kind of like the let's be as absolutely rough on these as we can and put them through the hardest tests we can guys, which I respect. What they do is they expose whose rifles are well built and whose are not, so forth and so on. Well, about the time that this came out, there was a lot of panic going on. People got really, really excited, and we're getting rid of their NPAPs. You know, it's interesting. You can even see it on this particular shot of a screen. If you look at this hole right here above the trigger pin, that's the old style of NPAP that was coming in. I don't know if it ever came in for the underfolders, but for the NPAP regular rifles, there's no indentation, there's no structural support around that hole. Same thing happened to my rifle. So imagine when I saw this and said to myself, holy crap, my one and only AK is indeed shit. This NPAP was my first AK. So of course I really wanted it to work out. Bought it in 2013. Was really happy when I was able to get the Zukov stock, as there weren't a lot of aftermarket accessories available. My favorite accessory. One thing is I started hearing things on the net about metallurgy and beat up tails on bolt carriers. Then I saw the information coming out of the AK Operators Union. Had I been snowed? Was my NPAP nothing more than a piece of junk produced by the Yugos? Was this a last laugh at capitalism? I don't know, but I wasn't happy. I was worried. I worried about whether or not it was a good rifle or whether or not it would fall apart in my hands. I just didn't know what to do. Luckily, I have the voice of reason inside my head. What that voice of reason told me was, hey man, think about the fact that Zastava makes military arms for the world over. What probably happened was they got a hold of a bad batch of raw material, sheet steel, that wasn't properly treated or properly carbonized or whatever. And then they stamped it out in a machine. And it came out looking like this. It's probably fine. Obviously, wear doesn't show up right away. But when you got stuff like pinhole edging or this axis pinhole that's way oversized, problem. Also, the TAPCO triggers beating up the tails of the bolt carrier groups and things like that. Not a pretty sight. Again, this was something that it doesn't help when the people that import them do things that beat them up. I had not heard any issues with the underfolder models, particularly the DF models. They look like the receiver is a much more military style than what we saw before with the original N-PAP that I owned. What I'm most hopeful about is this isn't even the same receiver on the DF that we had on the N-PAP before. You can see here where there's no indentation or anything to reinforce where the pinhole for the trigger pin goes. Yellow arrow shows you this. If you look at the correct version, which is what the DF is, and it's also what the military version is, it accounts for this and provides extra strengthening in this area. Another nice change from the past is that stupid TAPCO G2 trigger, which always caused issues, is gone. Century Arms has one out called the RAK1. It's very nice, it's very smooth, it breaks, and shoots at about 4.5 pounds. It comes standard on the DF, and it's nice not to have to change the trigger out right away. So are we happy campers? Does this mean the rifle is fixed? No problems? So it's going to take repetition to figure out how good this gun is. Lots of rounds. Am I going to like it as much as my SLR 104 or this trusty old clanky Romanian? I don't know. But time will tell. I'm not here to defend any poor quality in the past or any issues that have happened with Yugo N-PAP rifles at all. Believe me. I had, like I said, one of their problem rifles, and it just simply kind of made me question the whole process. But you do some research into any of these companies that get some of these bad reviews or bad reps, and a lot of times you're going to find out it's richly deserved. Other times it's going to be pick and choose, and I think in the case of these N-PAPs, I think they had a bad run on their fixed stock models a few years back. I think there were some design issues, as I pointed out earlier to you, which obviously don't exist in all models. And so you want to be real careful never to make those kind of statements. I've seen a lot of people who do nothing except chase down and repeat rumors on the internet talk about how bad arsenals are because there's a video out there which shows some paint bubbling. Well, this is the kind of stuff that go ahead and talk about your favorite car, what you think the best car is. Go ahead and investigate, and you'll find that there's problems all along. I think N-PAP had some problems and may continue to have some problems with their sporter receivers. I think the best thing to do is do your homework. Find a way to get the best version of what you're looking for. If it turns out that everything a company makes isn't good, and we know that a lot of those companies exist, especially U.S. manufacturers, don't get it. It's really that simple. Anyway, I appreciate you watching today. Again, I'm sure a lot of you go through what I go through, which is constantly questioning yourself. You see some information. We get invested in these firearms. And here's my friend. Again, she makes a cameo in every one of these. Please don't bark. I'm almost done. Anyway, what I'd like to say is thanks for watching. As always, in case you didn't know, I film, edit, and produce all of these videos on my Samsung iPhone. I use a Power Director app for the Samsung. You should check it out. It's pretty cool. I like the fact that all of this is done on zero budget. I'm sure it shows, but I have fun, and if you have questions or comments, please leave them below.